Okay, now let's see how to remove objects using Entity Framework. So I'm going to walk you through two scenarios. One with Cascade Delete and another without Cascade Delete. So courses and their tags. Here we have Cascade Delete turned on. In case you're wondering how, here's the configuration for our many-to-many relationship between courses and their tags. When using code-first migrations, by default, Cascade Delete is enabled. So if you want to disable it, you have to explicitly do so. And here is an example. We have disabled Cascade Delete between courses and authors. So let's start with the first example. So here is how we can delete a course. First, we need to have it in the context so it can be tracked by the change tracker. And then we call the remove method of the courses DB set. We pass this course object here, and at this point, its state will be changed to deleted. Finally, we call save changes, just like before. Let's run the application and then look at the query in SQL Profiler. Okay, beautiful. Look, here's our query. Delete courses where ID equals 6. So Entity Framework generated a query to delete the parent record, the course record. And because we have Cascade Delete, all related tags are automatically deleted. Now let's take a look at the other scenario. Authors and their courses. Here we don't have Cascade Delete because we don't want an author deleting their account, causing all these courses to disappear from the system. Maybe these courses are live and we have students taking these courses. But if there are special circumstances where it's okay to delete an author account, maybe these courses are draft, maybe they don't have any students, in those cases, because Cascade Delete is not turned on here, we need to explicitly delete the courses first and then delete the author or the parent. Let me show you what happens if you delete only the author or the parent. So context.authors.find 2. So this is going to be my author object. And now context.authors.remove author. If I run this application, it's going to throw an exception. There you go. Read the exception. So this is a DB update exception, which is the wrapper around another exception called update exception. And again, this exception is a wrapper around SQL exception. So when reading errors generated by Entity Framework, always look at the last exception in the chain. And if it's SQL exception, that exception comes directly from SQL Server, which means Entity Framework did its job in terms of generating the query, but the query could not be executed on the database. But if you don't see SQL exception, that means we didn't even make it to the database. So something went wrong when Entity Framework was trying to generate a query. Okay, now let's read the details of this SQL exception. The delete statement conflicted with the reference constraint. Courses underline authors underline author ID. The conflict occurred in the database Pluto queries, table courses, column author ID. So the problem here is Entity Framework tried to delete an author, but because Cascade Delete is not enabled, these course records could not be deleted. And SQL Server didn't know what to store in their author ID column. So in this case, we need to explicitly delete these courses first, and then delete the author. So the first thing I want to do is to eager load this author and his courses. Now note that here we cannot use the find method after include, so we'll have to change this to single. Okay, at this point we have the author and his courses. We need to explicitly remove all these courses. So context.courses. Look, we have two remove methods, remove and remove range. If you want to remove a list of objects, it's easier to use the remove range method because it accepts an IEnumerable object. So this way you don't have to use a for each block and call the remove method on each object. So remove range, and here is the list, author.courses. That's it. Now let's run the application. Beautiful, the author was deleted. Let's take a look at the queries in SQL Profiler. Okay, look, here we've got two queries. Here's the first one. So delete from courses where ID is 5. And here's the second query. Delete from authors where ID is 2. So this author had only one course. And that's why we have two delete statements here. If this author had 5 courses, we would have 5 delete statements to delete each course, and then another delete statement to delete the author itself. Now, query execution aside, in terms of best practices, whenever you want to delete records from your database, always think twice. In a lot of problems that I worked on, we didn't physically delete records from our database, because sometimes we need these records for historical reasons. Plus, we wanted to be able to undo some of these deletes if there were accidents. So it's a common practice to use a bit flag to logically delete records in a database. So when you want to delete records, instead of physically deleting them, you just turn on that bit flag and set it to 1 or true. And later, if you change your mind, you can set it back to false or 0. And that brings us to the end of this lecture. I hope you enjoyed and thank you for watching.